Founded in 1832, Skull and Bones is the oldest of Yale's many secret societies. Historically, admission is reserved for senior Yale undergraduates. Every year in the spring, 15 new members from the junior class are offered membership on what is often called Tap Night. A custom aptly named, as the new member is said to be notified of their admittance when a current member ritually claps them on the shoulder. Skull and Bones members are known to take an oath of secrecy, so their rituals and intricacies are highly guarded, despite the fame of their members. One thing we do know is the physical location of the Skull and Bones clubhouse and headquarters. The nearly windowless building, simply known as The Tomb, is housed in a large brownstone located at 64 High Street in New Haven, Connecticut. To preserve confidentiality, non-members are prohibited. Portraits that might feature such esteemed bonesmen, like former presidents George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, and William Howard Taft, as well as the father of American football and the founder of the NCAA, Walter Camp, the man who helped create the Hubble telescope, Lyman Spitzer, Time magazine's founder Henry Luce, Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart, former Secretary of State and Senator John Kerry, the so-called richest man in private equity with a personal net worth currently valued at $15.7 billion, Stephen A. Schwartzman, political journalist and author Dana Milbank, and the youngest member of President Obama's cabinet, economist Austin Goolsbee. If you're noticing a pattern among the members of Skull and Bones, that's because while Yale has admitted women since 1969, females were not granted membership into Skull and Bones until 1992.
The Skull and Bones Society, along with the Bush family, put illegal drugs such as heroin and cocaine on the streets of the US and the rest of the world. The Illuminati families in America and Britain launched an international drug trade and still maintain it today. Through their power in government agencies, they wipe out opposition, and this is exactly what you see when you watch a big drug bust on the news. Controlling the drug trade is a huge step to gaining financial power and is also a key factor in keeping parts of the world poor, unhealthy, and in poverty. The Skull and Bones Society has branches of power throughout the government, and Bushes were just one of the biggest families to be involved in the drug trade. David Icke once wrote, "The Skull and Bones Society is owned by the Russell Trust, an organization controlled by the Russells, a drug-running bloodline family. They flew the Skull and Bones flag on their ships as they transported drugs from the British Empire, from Turkey to China, and elsewhere during the Opium Wars of the 19th century. The Skull and Bones is an ancient Illuminati symbol used in its sacrificial rituals and secret language, not least by the Knights Templar. The Skull and Bones is a very well-hidden secret society that has infiltrated many positions of power in the US government. One of their greatest methods of manipulation is the bipartisan Republican-Democrat system, in which they present two political figures from two different parties, and the American people have an election where they vote for which candidate they like more. This is clearly giving the illusion of choice to the population. They control both parties. They control the entire system, yet I am supposed to believe that just by voting for one of their controlled puppets, that somehow everything is going to change? What are the chances that out of 300 million people, the two elected candidates would be related and both members of the same secret society? This is not a coincidence.
No, it is old boy network. This is no, I'll pat your back, you pat mine. This is not, oh, you got the same tie as me, so we're okay. This is a vicious group of interbreeding bloodlines seeking to impose their will and their structure of life upon the global population.
The world is a web controlled by one spider, the Illuminati, that disseminates a globalist agenda through a network of secret societies.
That it is so secret is because if the people of America realized what its elite presidents of the future get up to, they'd realize that they live in anything but the land of the free.
Globalist agenda.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order.
George Bush, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton. When you look at their administrations, apparently different, they are all not just awash, they are drowning in members of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. So no matter what the name of the party in power, the coordinating body remains the same.
The majority of their membership are very well could be honest, well-intentioned people, okay? But I don't think that they're truly aware of what the inner motivation and agenda really is. And that's where the true secrecy comes in.
The videotape provides a grainy glimpse into what appear to be the initiation rituals of a secret society that's been around since 1832, whose members have gone on to be leaders of Wall Street and the White House, the Senate and the Supreme Court.
They're sort of trying to scare the initiates, make them, disorient them, frighten them.
New York Observer investigative reporter Ron Rosenbaum accompanied a team of Yale students who shot these pictures 9 days ago. Rosenbaum's curiosity about Skull and Bones was permanently piqued when, as a classmate of George W. Bush, he lived right next to the Tomb, the group's heavily fortified home. From their perch, Rosenbaum and his cohorts taped the Tomb's courtyard. What they captured, they say, was initiates, known as neophytes, being forced to kiss a skull, then members performing a mock killing. When, as a classmate of George W. Bush, he lived right next to the Tomb, the group's heavily fortified home. From their perch, Rosenbaum and his cohorts taped the Tomb's courtyard. What they captured, they say, was initiates, known as neophytes, being forced to kiss a skull, then members performing a mock killing. It may look like your average fraternity nonsense, but Rosenbaum says it's not.
Even though it may seem silly to us, it seems to mean something to them, and you can't argue with the success of Skull and Bones.
True. Famous alums include senators John Kerry and John Chafee, to name two, cabinet secretaries such as Averell Harriman, and 3 presidents, William Taft, George Bush, and George W. Bush, who's been reluctant to talk about Skull and Bones.
Does it still exist? The thing is so secret, I'm not even sure it still exists.
Based on a mix of family connections and their accomplishments.
Initiation is actually pretty silly. Members dress in costumes, skeleton costumes, devil costumes, other costumes. Somebody's dressed up as Elihu Yale. The initiates have to do things like drink fake blood out of a skull.
And share their deepest, darkest secrets.
One of the first activities they participate in is called connubial bliss, or the sexual history. During CB, as it's called, each member must spend an evening standing in front of the other 14 bonesmen and recount his or her entire sexual and romantic history.
The Skull and Bones Society seems to be particularly important for bringing American elite bloodline young people into the web and being initiated into the web. You listen to what people have said who've had some experience of that secret society, the Skull and Bones. It is more than just a talking shop. It involves the worship of the skull.
A number of reports say that there are niches with human skulls, and whose skulls they are. They're supposedly the skulls of famous people, and there's one skull that was labeled the skull of Geronimo.
Geronimo died a prisoner of war, his body buried in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Now, 100 years later, his family is suing to get his remains back.
After a while, it hurts you inside.
Herlin Geronimo is the warrior's great-grandson. He and other descendants are suing Yale University and the secret society known as the Order of Skull and Bones, claiming Geronimo's skull was stolen back in 1918 by Yale students, members of the secret order.